Okay, so I just got done sweeping and combing my floors. Now I'm doing clothes in my tub. So I figured I'd take the opportunity, since I'm going to be spending so much time in there, to make one or two of the videos that I have in my backlog, or I had down for this month, that I didn't do. Okay, so I have my Samsung recording, but it was just recording me comb and sweep for a different reason. It was more like surveillance, like so anyhow, this is what the result. I need to take some pictures, and I know this isn't going to show it well, but and ouch. And then that's this room. This one is waterproof too. I've never, that's what I need to do with that other phone. Let's research it too. Been longing for me for a long, long time. Uh-oh. Okay. So, see, that phone is recording for surveillance purposes. I've had 2 drinks. I'm mad they haven't kicked in. That ain't got nothing to do with that though. That was more so, you know what surveillance is for, okay? I'm in a duplex. No motherfuckers downstairs is a problem. That was in case I had to cut some cops out today. Hold on, cute sweat. Demon. Oh my goodness, you see how big this is making me look? That's like not even real. Just like this ain't even real, but no, that photo really wasn't. I hate when stupid assholes do that shit. No, bitch, my cameras are not showing 2 different things. You're calling me 2 different people in them. Faggots are so gross. What? He's running the water over the phone?
The 2020 release of the iPhone SE, and it's claimed to be IP67, which means it can be submerged in up to 2 meters of water for 30 minutes. But would you really want to try it out or test that fact out? I don't know. Let's go ahead and submerge it into the water today and see if it can take pictures underwater, if it lasts under the tap. We'll do all the water tests on this phone, so you don't have to. But first, we do have to get rid of all these dirty dishes. Let's go ahead and do that. And there this theory out. Will this last being run under the water? You can see it is my iPhone SE. It is all perfectly working and fine. Let's go ahead and turn the tap on here. Got it onto a nice lukewarm type of water here. Let's go ahead and test it out. Oh, I don't know if I want to do it. Okay, let's do it. Let's do it. And boom, completely. We'll get it right into the charger port and all of that there. So we know for sure it is getting wet. Alright, let's go ahead and test it out. You might see it sometimes won't work perfectly.
That's because the screen is wet.
When you first take it away, that's because the water and the touchscreen don't work well together. But once it kind of does the drip off, everything will seem to work. We'll go to the camera itself. And does that work? Everything works perfectly fine. And then towards the end of the test, I'll make sure that it still charges for you as well, so you guys know that it will charge properly. So there we go. That's all working fine.
That's dope. If I drop this phone, or if the government knocks it out my hand into the water, in a tub of water, it'll be fine. I don't have to soak it in rice or nothing. Oh, you do clean it another water?
We have enough water in the sink, so let's go ahead and shut that off. And let's try out our scientific test before my really horrible drain in there starts draining out all the water. Here we've got the iPhone right here, perfectly working fine. Let's just go ahead and drop it right in. Are you guys ready? Here we go. We're dropping it in. 1, 2, 3. It is completely submerged in the water right here, as you can see right there. Okay, let's go ahead and see if we can take a picture underwater. I've got a Hot Wheels toy car here. We're going to use that as our little thing to take a picture with. We're just going to throw that right there. Let's grab the camera application, and luckily we can use the buttons for your camera. The buttons right on the top right here, so let's go ahead and do that. Alright, pictures are up on the screen so you guys can see what they look like. And we can see my water is slowly draining out. I know I should have put a better drain plug in there. But everything is working fine. Everything seems to work perfectly fine. So dropping it in the sink is no problem whatsoever. Any water that gets in, not a problem at all. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and just let this dry off for a little bit. And then we're going to try charging it to make sure that it still charges properly. Let's go ahead and do that. Alright guys, we've waited about 10 or 15 minutes just to let the phone kind of dry off. You don't want to plug your phone in right after it's been in water because then you might actually fry it. You want to let the ports kind of dry off a little bit, all that water get out. So I've done that, so let's go ahead and test it out now and see if it actually charges still now that it's been submerged underwater. And here's the moment of truth. Oh yes, it does. It is charging perfectly fine. No problems whatsoever. We're going to let it fully charge up now. So what's the moral of this story, guys? The moral of the story is
it was true. Let me put Pandora back on. Am I using this video? Well, I haven't played music in it. Well, Q-Sweat. I was supposed to be telling a story, but I wanted to see what this was like first, and now I'm like 9 minutes in. Great. It still smells good. I watched it yesterday morning. Sometimes and since I'm gonna be making a video, I'm not gonna do that. I don't have to worry about them knocking my phone in the water. Oh my goodness. So where do I sit this? Right there, you can't see me playing. Move this wet sponge out the way. I guess I can kind of post it up right there. Oh. Remember They broke my tripod. Oh. I don't, even though I know it'll survive in the water, I don't want it going in. Because my life is not set up that way. So let me find something to sit in front of it. Boom. All right, that should do. Okay. So, what I had talked about, I don't know if this is a good idea after a while. So, anyhow, so that phone, the one that I'm recording, oh no, that's what that looks like. Well, this is rated at all anyhow, so I mean, and you know it ain't even like that. It is not even like that. And what you're looking at is an attack. My boobs ain't got no business being this big. That's a fucking problem. It was another place they found to hide some fat. So, when I got this phone, I was talking to Stormy. Okay, so the first time he walked past me, he knew I was in there, he was looking for me, okay? So, he walks past me, I walk past him, I see him. He probably saw me first, but when I looked at him, he was not looking at me, so I was able to spot him and plan to walk by like I didn't see him. And that's what took place. I got aisle, but when I went over to the next aisle, there he was again. Or here he came again. And this time I'm like, oh fuck, ain't no avoidable. And I'm like, hey, you know, how you doing? And he was just kind of, you know, like wavy out, like just checking my temperature, seeing if I was gonna snap or not. I don't know him to snap. He just knows that I know who everyone is. Okay, he knows I know about demons, dimensions, and timelines. And that's reason enough to be on defense. Or, you know, just not defense, but defense. So, because we don't have a past together and we don't know much about one another, like I said, he was like Dominique's cousin, and Dominique was my childhood friend. So her and I went to middle school and high school together. We did not go to elementary school together. And I used to stay over her house quite a bit between the age of 14 and 16. Between the age of 14 and 16, not as much when I was 17. I graduated at 17. But, so, yeah, and when he would come over, he's her cousin, you know, and she had an older brother. So when he come over, you know, that's how I was familiar with him. He'd come by there to visit his family. So I got familiar with his face, but there was never any interaction or whatever, you know. Like, he may or may not say hi, but he always let me know that he knew who I was before I knew who I was, or before I could reference my thoughts of knowing who I was. Because dated back as early as I was probably like 14 or something. I believe it's probably the first time I said, like, I'm probably Christ's mother. So, but he, yeah, the demon knew who I was, and it would, sometimes in those type of situations with those type of people that you don't have any dealings with in any way whatsoever, they'll look at you odd in a way that lets you know that they know. They'll look at you in a way that it will be perceived as odd. I put this in words better in the other video. Maybe I can't play it again out of it because it's on the same phone. So anyhow, yeah. That's how I know of him. That's how he knows of me. I wasn't out there. It ain't like he, you know what I'm saying, know me from the streets or none of that shit. So, anyhow, he sees me and, you know, it's like, I'm finally he look at me long enough to let me know he know he remember me. He tried to holler at me one time as an adult, and this was like shortly, a couple years before I returned to Akron. I returned to Akron in 2014 to stay with my mother while I recovered from the investment that I made in 2012. I had only saved up enough for 6 months. I was under attack by the government then and didn't know it. You know, all I could reference myself, because it's not like I ever in my life had nobody to talk to about nothing. Okay? So, all I knew was I wasn't able to retain information. I put this large amount of money in. I saved up enough to survive with my normal lifestyle for 6 months. And I'm like, I had left over enough to survive. That's how I planned it out and decided that I would do it. You know, and I'm like, I should be able to make a return before then. You know, like, I'll go take these few classes and put this stuff into action. So, anyhow, at some point or another, 2010 is too early, 11 is too early, 12 is between 2012 and 14. At some point I came home and I was visiting my mother, and we were at the Family Dollar on South Main Street that used to be a Marks. No, it used to be a Sparkle Mart. Sparkles. We don't even got Sparkles no more. And I saw him in there. And, you know, he told me, he was like, you know, yeah, it's be acting a little weird and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, you know, I can see that, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, well, take my number. He was like, give me a call. What you be doing? This, that, and any other. And I'm like, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay. You know, there's one or two things with me, like, when you're trying to come on to me. Either I'll take your number and never call, and this is constant. I'll take your number and never call, or I'll straight out tell you I'm not going to call, so don't give me your number. It's only two things it is. And all the years that, let's see, this is 2021, and the last decade, we'll go all the way back to 2010. But I had a boyfriend, like, in between. I had two boyfriends, like, in between, during that time. So I guess I can't go back that far. But I'm just saying, like, during that time. But if that's the case, I could go back even further. Because, like I said, it's been constant, like, my whole life. So anyhow, that's neither here nor there. And I never called him. And so then, you know, I seen him more time between us on there, and, you know, it was just like quick hi and bye. Like, literally, we just saw each other in passing, and it was hi and bye. Something to that effect. And then, this Walmart situation. And I was trying it, and I was going to get away. But I didn't run like I normally do. Normally, as soon as I'm out of this, I take off in a sprint and get on the other side of the store. And next thing I know, I see them at the register checking out. So, yeah. And we're like, hey, you know, how you been doing? Okay. And I'm like, how's Nikki? You know, like, how's Stacy? How's Adele? You know, because those were his relatives that I was around. They all were under the same household. And I was like the fourth wheel. I go over. But not, I guess, you know, that had such a negative connotation. It wasn't even like that. You know what I'm saying? My home was home. You know, I didn't have a problem with my grandmother and my grandma or my uncles and stuff like that. You know, it was just like I was a teen, and it was the things that I was into. You know, like in terms of curriculum and extracurricular activities. You know, so that's where I spent a lot of time. Not a whole, you know, not most of my time, but a lot of time. Enough that it should be noted in any case, scenario, or situation when that time frame is regarded. So, and he's like, yeah, they doing right, you know. He's like, but you know, they weird. And I'm like, yeah, they are weird. And he's like, yeah, he starts going into details about all of them, okay? So now he's like, yeah, you know, Nikki, you know, she got a new baby dad. You know, I guess Stacey had some problems with him. And then he was talking about how Stacey was with one of the little boys was messing with one of his twins. He said he found out that one of his twins, which is his great cousins, was gay from, you know, looking through her Instagram. This is for me. He was looking through his great cousin's Instagram, and he saw that she was gay because he always seen her kissing up and booed up on a female. So that's how he found out about it. And then he's like, one of the other ones, the other twin, I suppose, got pregnant, had a baby by one of the little dudes. So these little young guys that he's talking about, I know Rynell and Bubbles, you know, Pat Botley's grandkids, Erica, you know, Tweet, Serena, what's her name? Something like that. I know them. Okay. But these other little young boys, this is like after my time. So I've left home by now. This is like not post-pre. This is after 2002. Okay. And these are little young boys, you know, and these little young boys grow up and they end up, you know what I'm saying, getting into drugs and being thugs and all that stuff. So he was talking about them and he's like, you don't know such and such. And now this video is so much later, I can't even remember the guy's name that he was mentioning. Today is the 24th of September. This took place on the 30th of July. So I'm like way late, like a month and a half late making this video. And I've made 2 attempts prior to this, but I can't recall the little guy's name that he was talking about. And he's like, yeah, man, he was answering to him. Like, he said they pulled up on him. It was like, he was talking to him like he was his, you know. And I'm like, wow. Like, and he's like, yeah. And he said he was telling me, like, man, how you letting these, you know what I'm saying, like, holler at you like that? You know what I'm saying? Dude wanted his bag. He had him hold something for him and he wanted his bag. And he was like, hold on, man, hold on, I'm about to get it. You know what I'm saying? That's not how the elder would handle the youngin'. You know what I'm saying? Even if it's doing a favor. But it was saying like he bitched him, like, in so many words. That's what it had gotten to. And then it got into another situation with Nikki and her baby dad. And he had to pull a pistol on him. Stacey pulled a pistol on her baby dad, which is Dominique's brother. Nikki and Dominique are the same people. I hate telling stories like these because I can do them in the most organized manner, but this should be easy to understand. So he said, you know, that happened. You know, he was talking about how weird she is and what she was into, and you know, some stuff like that or whatever. And then he was like, you know, I had dropped a bag one time at Adele's, and he was like, and when I got it back, 20,000 was missing. So he told me, or maybe it was 20,000, and I don't know. I think he said 20 was missing from it. I don't know. Something like that. I don't need to go into all that. I think that's apparent. The government is talking about the numbers. So he said it was, you know, it was missing. She claimed some little boys had dropped it off. They found it outside, brought the book bag inside. And, you know, she said she ain't counting none. She just called him and asked him, like, hey, did you drop something? And he was like, yeah. And he come back by. And, you know, he said, like, 20 G's was missing. And he said, you know, he ain't pretty much gonna do it. But something else flaky happened. So Stacy did something that was supposed to be extremely, ouch, ouch, ouch. They're putting a lot of pressure on my legs with physics. You can't even see it. They're mad about how many details I'm telling. Pain will make you shut up. So then stop crunchies. So then that was that about the bag situation. And I'm talking about, like, he'd have called me up, he'd have brought me up to speed like 15 years, okay? So he like, you know, every car I ever had, you know, like, he was like, when, you know, I was done with it, you know, I give it to him and I got something new or whatever. He was like, I pretty much always pass it along to him. He was like, you told me you wanted your bike, I got your bike. He was like, and recently he said he wanted a bike. He said, and I don't even mess with him like that. He said, I told him to find one. He had like, he can't even find the bike. And I'm like, I'm gonna pay for it, but I ain't about to find you a bike and pay for it. And, you know, that type of situation or whatever. And he was like, you know, he was just pretty much lazy, won't do nothing or whatever, blah, blah, blah. And he was saying that everyone thinks there's something weird going on between him and the one twin, and I reckon it's the one that I saw him with, because she was looking at me real guilty, like, when she saw me in a circle, okay? But he said he spent a lot of time together, and is almost seen as inappropriate like everybody. And I'm like, I asked him flat out, like, are you sure they ain't messing around? Because, you know, he was saying that you can't say nothing about Stacy without her going off. Like, she'll go off about her dad. And I asked him, and he said, you know, he don't know or whatever. And he didn't say, like, he don't know, like, someone else might have brought him in. He said, like, he don't know, like, a couple of years, he don't know what it is. Like, and it almost pretty much ain't even came to mind with him. You know, he ain't gave that no thought. And I'm like, I wouldn't be surprised, you know what I'm saying, type thing. So, but this is a dog conversation. We ain't dogging them. We just like, you know, they be doing some shit that's like weird, ain't right, or whatever. And he was talking about, he was like, so have you seen him? Like, and I'm like, no, I ain't seen Stacy. Like, and I told him the last time I saw him, but he was with his daughter. I was like, okay, or whatever. And he was like, no, he got a whole grill now. He was like, yeah, you know, he was missing teeth, and now he got, like, you know, this, hold up, I need to write something down, or I'm gonna forget. So, I'm like, yeah, last time I saw it was this, and this was this, with the weird, and he's like, I don't know which, you know, which one, or whatever. And he's like, yeah, I don't know which one it was. And I told him the last time that I saw the twins, I was like, I took them to a Mexican restaurant out to eat. And you know, when we was talking about she was gonna, I didn't tell him the part about that. I just told him we went out to eat. One was talking about joining the military, the other one was talking about hanging out. You know, like, but at any rate, neither one of them did what, you know. So, he was talking about how, he was like, you ain't seen him? He was like, well, I'm gonna warn you, because if you see him, he said, he might mess you up. He said he got all his teeth done. He said he got a whole new set of teeth. And he said, and you can't tell that they ain't real, they got them in there. He said, but you gonna remember that he ain't have no teeth, and if you see this, it'll mess you up. So I'm letting you know he got his mouth done. And I'm laughing hard as fuck. I'm like, well, thanks for letting me know. And I be down if the devil ain't show up, like trying to see if I wanted to see. So this is like 3 weeks later. He shows up, Stacy shows up at the Family Dollar I was at in Hawkins Plaza. I'm telling you, places these things never went, they don't go. He shows up there, I see him and I sprint. I don't want nothing to do with it. Because me talking to you about what's going on with me, and as much as you supposed to love me, you ain't going to be able to do nothing to help me. And you ain't even who you say you are right now. You just trying to escape your past. Like, you trying to establish you a new norm. You know, you act like you going to have a problem with me remembering all the bad things about you. Okay? Remembering your journey. Remembering your trials. And you know what I'm saying? That was all shit. Me never holding it against you ain't going to even come to mind. Like, motherfucking demons are a trip. So, they're monsters, okay? And then smile, you know, to get something to manipulate reality with. And so anyhow, he's going on. He brings me, like I said, up to speed about 15 years. And I could tell you some more things that he said. But that ain't really relevant. So I'm like, well, let me, you know what I'm saying, like, take advantage of this and tell you something about me. I'm like, well, I know you say that I'm missing a tooth, or whatever. And, well, wait, back up. I gotta pee, and this phone does not charge, and that one's on the toilet. I'm gonna put the phones out of here for a second while I use the bathroom. This one can pause. Pause. No, don't pause. Okay. Shut up, crunchies. And so, he's like, yeah, and Tap is your dad? I was like, yeah. He was like, I didn't even know. He was like when I tried to talk to you that one time, he was like, I didn't even know, but let me tell you how the demon tried to play me. He slid this in there. He's like, I ain't telling you nothing or nothing. I'm like, well, you know what I'm saying? When I'm thinking to myself, I didn't say nothing because it was busy talking. I'm talking, it was so nervous, it was just telling me everything. So I'm just listening. I didn't even have to, you know what I'm saying? I ain't got to correct that. You don't know nothing about me. Like, and ain't nobody ever going to be able to tell you nothing bad about me. So, he's like, you know, I didn't know that was your dad. He was like, yeah, we work together. I didn't know they worked together. I didn't know Erwin, which is the other cousin, was like the one who employed my dad as soon as he got out of jail. But now I know why. Okay, I know why my dad was able to land a job without a problem as soon as he got out of jail. And they only know him as Tap. They don't know him as John. You know, and I'm like, you gotta, I don't know if he gets paid under the table or what, but I thought he did taxes. And he's like, yeah, man, he cool. He cool. He was like, you know, he was like, that's my guy. He's like, I used to talk to him all the time, this, that, and the other. And I'm like, you know what, yeah, he's cool if you don't know him. I was like, you got to look at it this way. Like, if you're someone that knows who he is and knows his past, you know what I'm saying, he's going to look at you like you know him. But when he has the opportunity to paint a picture of himself where there's a clean slate, he's completely different. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that he don't got no good, you know what I'm saying? If you want to talk about eugenics. If we factor eugenics in, he don't got no good qualities. But I'm just saying, right now that's not the world's reality yet. So, like, I ain't saying he ain't got no good qualities or whatever, but I'm just saying, like, I know him and he's different. And I was like, and I told him, I was like, he, completely abandoned me, like, when this shit happened with the government. And I told him the details of it. That's, like, kind of after he said that he knew my dad. That's when I went into the details. I'm like, let me take advantage of this and tell him what's going on with me. And I'm like, I know you see I'm missing it too. The same thing you hear in other videos where I've recorded me talking to somebody. I tell the same thing all the time because the truth is simple. And as long as I don't lie, it's not, you know what I'm saying? Like, ain't nothing that can come back. You know, I'm just saying. So, and he's like, wow, that's crazy, or whatever. And I asked him, I'm like, what did he say about me? He was like, no, he didn't ever say nothing bad about you, but I know my dad, so I know he did. You know, he said something where he tried to find me suspect. He always had an issue with me not settling down with a guy. You know, like, I'll be in a long relationship for me is like 3 years. I don't spend a lot of time on guys. I don't spend a lot of time in jobs because I'm not giving nobody that type of time. But I also spend a lot of time alone, and no one wants to acknowledge that. Okay? Don't nobody want to acknowledge how much motherfucking time I spend alone. Like, I'm not always sitting on a fucking dick. That ain't what my life is like. But even when I'm in a relationship, you get what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to go into too many details and get too vulgar about it, you know, but I'm just saying. Like, my dad don't know me, you know, and that's what I told him in so many words. I didn't go into the details because I didn't feel I needed to. And I gave him my Facebook page, you know. He didn't pull it up on his phone, so I'm like, once you see some of this stuff, you don't know what it is. And pretty much I haven't heard from him since then. Since he saw how real it was. I ain't heard from him since then. He told me, he's like, man, you don't got a phone or whatever, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, I ain't got nothing. I'm like, I ain't got no money. He's told me, you know, I've always had this, that, and any other. And I'm like, I know you don't know, but like outside of the military, you know, like, because Akron loses track after that. After high school, they lose track of you. So the last they're going to recall is that I joined the military. Unless, you know, they were looking at my Facebook page, they wouldn't. A lot of people wouldn't even reference, you know, my civilian job. Or the fact that I always held 2 jobs. You know, like, so. I'm like, so yeah, this shit is crazy. I'm like, I'm on foot. Be happy to catch a bus. You know what I'm saying? Occasionally, I'm like filthy, horrible shit. You know what I'm saying? Like on the same, using the same systems I frown upon, MHA, you know, like housing vouchers and shit. I'm not a disabled vet. I can't get shit from the VA. And if you play sick, you end up sick. So, and I'm like, yeah, I don't even got a phone, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, man, well, we can get you a phone. He was like, I'll get you a phone, I'll get you a phone. And he was like, matter of fact, look, he was like, let's go check, see what kind of phones they got. And so we go back there, we see some phones that we're talking about or whatever. He's like, get this iPhone. And he was being instructed. And I was like, no, I don't see why I don't want you to spend $200 on a phone. I'm like, I don't even got money. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, I need a car. And he's like, so give me a number. Like, what is it that you need? And I'm like, I need 10 G's. And I was like, I can get a car and, you know, like get on my feet and do some things with it. And he's like, 10 G's. And I was like, yeah. And he was like, okay. So he was like, this is after he was going in his pocket. He's like, how much do you need? I'm like, because I told him, I'm like, I don't even got money. And you talk about giving me like a $200 phone. I'm like, that just don't make sense to me. I'm like, I could purchase a phone through the carrier that I had and just replace it. You get what I'm saying? Like, get a little $20 phone, and then I can have a couple of dollars on me. He's like, no, you need to have this phone. And so, this iPhone, almost as if it's a must. He was trying to align his behavior and activity with the landlords. They're both former, and in many cases, D-boys, like still D-boys. And I never, you know what I'm saying, I dealt with that kind of stuff. Like, yeah, no. So, he's like, so no, you gotta have this phone or whatever. And I told him, I'm like, I don't have no money, I need you to give me some money too then. And he's like, okay. But I'm like, no, Swing, really, like, I need you to give me some money too. And he's like, okay. And so then he asked me, he's like, how much do you need? And I'm like, I need 10. You know, like, and he's like, and we started talking about cars. And he was like, you know, he just had one of them. And I told him I was pretty much going to get the same vehicle I had. You know, I'm not trying to do nothing, you know, like, over the top. I'm just trying to get out the situations that I'm in, okay? Like, I want to be able to cover a couple of, like, lawyer fees. Or, you know, like, if I file some lawsuits, I want to be able to cover the fees for it. That's like $110 a piece for every suit that I file. So, and so like, he goes in his partner and he's like, well, how much do you need right now? You know, like, because he's like, he don't have that on him right now. He's like, but you know, it's nothing, I can get you a car or whatever. And I'm like, okay. And so I'm like, but I need some money, like, today, right now. And he's like, okay. And he's like, how much you need? I'm like, a few hundreds. And he was like, that's not what he slapped my hair for. He slapped my hair for something else. Anyhow, he ended up giving me $200, and that the price of the phone with the card, the plan, ended up coming to $300 or $280 something. So about $500 total. And he told me, he said, as soon as you turn the phone on and activate it, make sure you text me at this number. I'm like, okay. I didn't activate the phone that night. I activated the next day. I sent him a message from Facebook and let him know that, you know, I had some issues with the activation, because I did. And I didn't know that when you activate a phone online, there's like a wait period. It's not like you punch your numbers in and right away it's active like you will when you call in to activate. Like, they'll make you wait 48 hours till your service plan kick in. And so I'm like, fuck. But anyhow, when I activated the phone, I sent him a text to the number he gave me, and I put Kiki. And this is after I told him my real name. And he wouldn't tell me his. But I didn't push either. So I text him, and he didn't respond. And like the agents, you know, they be talking, telling all the fucking business. And they were talking about how, you know, his little girls weren't looking at him the same way anymore, and how, you know, they know the same thing that he knows. So pretty much timelines and dimensions, everything that you have in your family, you know what I'm saying, when these demons find out that they all, for some reason, they were trying to separate operations. Like, one thing wasn't supposed to know about the other, and now they're acting like they are all finding out each other and one another know about me. So, yeah, they were saying that he needed to, you know, that was his way of mistreating me. You know, by not following through with what he said he could do, or what he would do, and not responding. And I didn't hit him up again on Facebook or anything. I just sent that one text message with my name, and when I didn't hear from him, that was that. I already know what it is. Oh. So, that was it. That's the story. That's it. I finally got it out. 48 minutes. Okay, that's enough. I ain't even done with fucking laundry.